The ancient Roman Empire is one of the greatest empires of the ancient world. But the Romans weren't always such a massive empire. They too came from humble beginnings as a cluster of villages on a group of hills. Sometime, however, after 700 BCE, these villages merged to become a city state. However, their good location attracted unwanted attention from lords who came down and took control of the city. These kings, however, laid the foundation for what would come. First, though, another Greek innovation was spreading through Italy, republicanism, which caused the kings to be expelled and the first ever consuls to take charge. Rome at its peak had conquered all the way north to Britain, all the way west to modern day Portugal, all the way east to modern day Iraq, and all the way south to Egypt. And they conquered everywhere in between. Considering how massive this empire was, who were in charge? Or I guess better, who was in charge? There was just one person in charge, and that was the emperor. However, there were many emperors, the most famous being Octavius, otherwise known as Augustus Caesar, who started the now famous Pax Romana, which was a time of peace. But to add to his character, he acted for the glory of the empire and not for personal power. Religion in Rome was pretty interesting. From the beginning, the Romans were polytheistic. From the initial array of gods and spirits, Rome added to this collection to include both Greek gods as well as a number of foreign cults. Eventually, however, all of their gods would be washed away, gradually replaced by Christianity. Considering the amount of territory conquered, the Roman army was one of the most successful armies of the ancient world, and its soldiers were rightly feared for their training, discipline, and stamina. As a result, the army was a major player in Roman politics, and maintaining its loyalty was essential for any emperor. At its height, the Roman imperial army had a force of around 350,000 soldiers. The Romans traded all across the ancient world, from Spain all the way to China. However, the main trading partners were the Spanish, the French, those in the Middle East, and those in North Africa. And the main trades were of corn, beef, glass, iron, lead, leather, marble, olive oil, perfumes, timber, tin, and of course, wine for the Romans. There are many figures I could highlight in the Roman Empire. One person in specific who I'd like to talk about would be the Blessed Emperor, or the life of Constantine. Constantine was born in the latter of 280 CE. Constantine reigned over a major transition in the Roman Empire. And much more, one of the most important achievements of his time was his acceptance of Christianity and his establishment of an eastern capital city, which would later bear his name, mark his rule as a significant pivot point between ancient history and the Middle Ages. On a side note, however, isn't it ironic how the Romans killed the Christian Messiah, Jesus, just to later adopt his way of thinking? The cultural impact of Rome cannot be understated. Rome is responsible for many things. One thing, however, that I'd like to highlight is being the root of the Romance languages and my language, Spanish, with their language, Latin. The thing about Latin is being that it's the root for many languages across the world, but specifically the Romance languages such as French, Italian, and Spanish. When an empire falls, it comes not down to one reason, but many different reasons. And Rome is no exception, especially Rome. But the three main reasons that I want to list are: one, government corruption; political instability; and the army. The main one I want to highlight, however, is the army, because when Rome was invaded by German barbarian tribes, at the time, the rank of the Roman legion was mostly made up of German Goths and other barbarians who had little or no loyalty to the empire, who switched sides when given a chance. When the Roman Empire fell, it didn't fall completely. It continued to live on as the Byzantine Empire that survived until the 15th century. And if you remember Constantine, then you'd remember that he started a capital in the east side of the Roman Empire, which became the capital of the Byzantine Empire, known as Constantinople, named after Constantine. All in all, the legacy of the Roman Empire cannot be understated. Its impacts are still seen today in the structure of, for example, the US government for most languages, as said before. Even in our fashion, you could still see traces of Roman culture. Roman culture, for example, is still very famous in many parts of Europe, and I'm sure it will continue to affect our culture as time goes on, as the Roman Empire is one of the most influential empires of all time.